But she said she was in the trenches. She alludes to being in the trenches when she was in the British royal family. Girl, you lived in a castle. Like, you got a princess title. People were falling at your feet. People would run your bathwater for you. I mean, I could list the perks. I could list them forever. The trenches. She has got to. The Delulu is on another level. Sometimes I envy it.
It was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
Oh, shut up. What do you mean the stakes are this high? Who do you think you are? Other than a latte-munching imbecile living in luxury in California while the rest of the world's a cost of living crisis, moaning and whining about an institution which gave you the titles on which you now trade millions of dollars. What are you talking about? What stakes?
It's official. Meghan Markle isn't just out of favor. She's been erased. No more texts. No more tense family meetings. No more hopeful reconciliations. Just silence. Not the kind that suggests someone's taking space. This is the kind of silence that screams finality. Meghan Markle has been cut off, permanently, and not by a bitter tabloid editor or some disgruntled royal aide. This exile is being orchestrated from the very top. Prince William and Princess Catherine themselves. Behind the polished smiles and royal wave lies a cold, calculated decision that's been brewing for years. According to high-level insiders, Meghan's name isn't even allowed to be spoken inside palace walls. Not joking. Staff were reportedly instructed not to mention her at all. No exceptions. It's as if she never existed. The royal family, known for their stiff upper lip and generations of quiet diplomacy, has chosen the most brutal form of punishment imaginable: total erasure. But why now? Why the silence? Why not some dramatic press statement or another scandalous tell-all from across the pond? Because this time, it's different. This time, the palace isn't playing defense. They're going on lockdown. Meghan hasn't just lost her place in the family. She's lost access, relevance, and recognition. And here's the kicker. Those pulling the strings aren't ranting in interviews or leaking stories to the press. They're doing something that hurts a lot more. They're acting like she doesn't matter. Not to the monarchy. Not to the public. Not to anyone. And behind that deafening silence lies a series of events, betrayals, public humiliations, and private battles that pushed the royal family to the edge. This wasn't a snap decision. It was a slow, cold build, one that now feels irreversible. So what exactly happened? What pushed the royals to go nuclear without even saying a word? And where does this leave Harry, the once beloved prince, now caught between blood and loyalty? Buckle up, because the story behind Meghan's royal freeze-out is darker, more strategic, and way more personal than you think.
The American actress who became a duchess, who tried to destroy the royal family, which then booted them out of England.
Oh my God, I can't even. These two, Meghan and Harry, are the worst.
Yeah, she's gaslighting. She's lying. Absolutely. And this is just another one of those examples of Harry and Meghan disrespecting the Queen. I know she is no longer here, but that does not mean that the rules don't apply to you any longer.
The date was May 2nd. What was meant to be just another BBC interview turned into the final nail in the coffin. Prince Harry once again aired royal grievances on a global stage, igniting a silent storm behind palace walls. But this time, it wasn't met with quiet disapproval or behind-the-scenes hand-wringing. This time, Prince William snapped. Not in the traditional sense. There were no raised voices, no emotional outbursts. William's reaction was colder, sharper, strategic. Insiders say that as soon as the interview aired, he made a private decision with Catherine by his side. No more Meghan, no more drama, no more public jabs, no more emotional exhaustion. The door was shut and the lock was permanent. From that moment on, palace staff were reportedly issued strict instructions. Meghan's name was not to be spoken in any official or informal setting. Meetings, conversations, even polite chit-chat during events. Her name became radioactive, off-limits, taboo. It wasn't just about punishing Meghan. It was about protecting what remained of the monarchy's dignity. And let's be clear, this wasn't a single bad interview. This was the boiling point. Years of friction, media chaos, tell-all documentaries, and emotional warfare had led to this moment. The family had given second chances, third, maybe even fourth. But with Catherine's health reportedly hanging in the balance and the royal image under fire, William finally drew a line. Sources close to the family say Catherine didn't just support the decision, she demanded it. Her emotional and physical well-being had already taken a massive hit from the constant tension. She'd had enough. Meghan, once seen as a hopeful modern face of the monarchy, was now viewed as a living, breathing source of stress and scandal. So when Harry decided to open his mouth yet again, the result wasn't just a rift. It was a shutdown, a royal freeze-out. And while Meghan may have expected another round of tabloid headlines or tense royal texts, what she got instead was worse, a deafening, devastating silence. But this wasn't the only move being made behind closed doors, because Prince William wasn't just cutting her off, he was quietly building something much more permanent.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace.
Prince William isn't the kind of man to lose his temper in public. He doesn't throw tantrums or storm out of meetings. When he's angry, it's quiet, tactical, precise. And that's exactly what makes this whole situation so dangerous for Meghan. Insiders say William's fury over the May 2nd interview didn't erupt in some emotional blow-up. Instead, it settled into something far more unsettling, a cold, calculated mission to protect the crown. No more compromises. No more second chances. This wasn't about family anymore. It was about legacy. Sources close to the palace say William has been working behind the scenes, applying subtle but unrelenting pressure on King Charles himself. The message? The monarchy can't survive if it continues to be dragged into the mud by Meghan's endless media circus. And Charles, dealing with his own rumored health issues, seems to be listening. The vibe inside the palace has shifted. It's no longer let's ignore the drama. It's she's done. Meghan isn't being pushed out with fanfare. She's being quietly, ruthlessly erased. William doesn't want her name mentioned, her presence acknowledged, or even a hint of engagement with her narrative. This isn't passive aggression, it's strategic elimination. Because to William, this isn't just about personal betrayal, it's about image, reputation, history. Meghan represents everything the monarchy was never supposed to be: loud, unpredictable, media-obsessed. And in William's eyes, every time the royals engage with her, even indirectly, they lose. So now his mission is clear: total disengagement. Not just for himself, but for the entire royal machine. He's reorganizing, tightening control, and making damn sure no one steps out of line, not even the king. And while Meghan might have hoped for a dramatic showdown or a royal clapback, she could spin into another documentary. What she's facing instead is far worse. She's being ignored out of existence. But the psychological toll of this strategy is only beginning to show, and it's having effects no one, not even Meghan, was ready for. Because while William was playing chess, Meghan never realized she'd already lost the board.
With King Charles on his way out, Prince William is expected to take over the crown. And apparently at the top of his list is to say, "Peace out, Meghan, you're done." And he plans to formally strip Meghan Markle of her royal title.
She's slaughtered this weekend because there were some business cards in the back of one of her podcasts. She's still using her royal title, HRH, despite our late Queen warning her against.
Meghan Markle has always played the game through headlines, strategic interviews, emotional documentaries, public narratives carefully crafted to paint her as the misunderstood outsider. But what happens when the enemy refuses to play? That's exactly the strategy Prince William and Princess Catherine have chosen: complete silence. No reactions, no responses, no acknowledgements. And according to royal insiders, it's driving Meghan absolutely insane. Angela Levin, a seasoned royal biographer, broke it down bluntly. Silence is more effective than any public rebuttal. Why? Because it starves the drama of oxygen. Meghan thrives on attention, positive or negative. Without a target to push against, the spotlight fades. And for someone who built an empire on media control, that fading light is suffocating. This isn't just avoidance, it's psychological warfare. The palace isn't slamming doors or issuing ultimatums. They're doing something colder, more calculated. They're pretending she doesn't exist. No eye contact in public, no subtle nods in interviews. No polite "we wish her well," just nothing. Absolute blackout. And for Meghan, that kind of erasure is the ultimate punishment. The irony? It's the same strategy Meghan reportedly used on her own father. The same cold cutoff that stunned the public during the royal wedding saga. Now the royals have taken a page from her own playbook, and they're executing it flawlessly. Inside sources say it's working. Meghan's inner circle has started shrinking. Former friends aren't returning calls. Hollywood allies have gone quiet. Media coverage, once glowing and effusive, has turned sharp, critical, and, worst of all, indifferent. The world isn't hanging on her every word anymore. And that silence, It's louder than any scandal. To be cut off by the most powerful family in Britain isn't just a PR nightmare. It's a message. One that echoes across every red carpet, every publisher's office, every luxury brand that once lined up to work with her. You're no longer a royal. You're not even a threat. You're nothing. But this silence isn't just hurting Meghan, it's also pulling back the curtain on how deep the royal fallout has gone, and how far Kate Middleton was pushed before she said, enough. Behind the palace gates, behind the perfectly curated photos and forced smiles, Princess Catherine was quietly unraveling, and no one was paying attention. While the world speculated about Meghan's next move or Harry's next headline, few realized the emotional toll it was all taking on the future queen. But insiders now say Catherine wasn't just supportive of the royal freeze-out, she demanded it. For years, she kept her head down, played the part, smiled through interviews, endured the comparisons. The media often painted her as the cold one, the distant duchess. Meanwhile, Meghan was the bold, fresh, relatable face. But what the headlines never captured was the private chaos, the emotional warfare behind palace walls that was slowly draining the life out of Catherine. And when her health reportedly took a serious hit earlier this year, everything changed. Sources say it was during this time that William became laser-focused on protecting her peace. And protecting Catherine meant cutting out every single source of stress. Meghan was at the top of that list. It wasn't just about public perception anymore. It wasn't about tabloids or family squabbles. This was about survival, emotional, mental, physical. Catherine was exhausted, not just from the spotlight, but from the toxicity that seemed to follow Meghan into every room, every conversation, every press cycle. And when Harry's May 2nd interview dropped, something inside her snapped. According to palace staff, Catherine made it crystal clear. Meghan's presence, name, or influence would no longer be tolerated anywhere near her or her family. Full stop. And this wasn't pettiness, it was self-preservation. The emotional scars run deep. Behind Catherine's polished exterior is a woman who's watched her family's reputation drag through the mud, her marriage scrutinized, her children's future turned into gossip fodder. All while she fought battles no one knew about. So when she finally put her foot down, there was no debate. William backed her 100%. Meghan wasn't just a nuisance anymore, she was a threat to Catherine's peace. And in the royal family, protecting the future queen is non-negotiable. But while Catherine was done playing nice, Meghan was still burning bridges, this time outside the palace walls. If Meghan Markle thought the royal freeze-out was brutal, she clearly hadn't looked outside the palace. Because while William and Catherine were shutting doors behind velvet curtains, Hollywood and high society were doing the exact same thing, just with fewer headlines. Take Edward Enninful, the former editor-in-chief of British Vogue, once one of Meghan's loudest champions. He bent over backwards for her, gave her the spotlight, handed her the rare opportunity to guest edit one of the most prestigious fashion publications in the world. At the time, it was hailed as a cultural milestone, a royal shaking up tradition, a moment of feminist history. But behind the scenes, a completely different story. Staff reportedly had to tiptoe around Meghan's unreasonable demands. Her behavior was allegedly erratic, controlling, and steeped in diva energy. People described the atmosphere as tense, suffocating. Enninful tolerated it for a while. He knew the power of the partnership, but eventually, even he had enough. The result? Radio silence. No more glowing tributes. No public support. And from a man as connected and respected as Enninful, that silence screamed. But this wasn't a one-off. It was a pattern. Former staff, media allies, Hollywood insiders, people who once rallied behind Meghan are now keeping their distance. Privately, many describe her as exhausting. Publicly, they say nothing at all, which says everything. These are the same people who once viewed her as a symbol of empowerment. Now they see her as a liability. In Hollywood, let's just say the glow is fading. What once made Meghan a media darling, her royal title, her outsider-turned-princess image, her boldness, is now being seen as arrogance, manipulation, a brand that's more noise than value. Sources say production companies have cooled. A-list celebrities are avoiding association. Media outlets that once hung on her every word are now covering her with cold detachment, or worse, brutal honesty. What's even more telling? Meghan seems to know it. Insiders claim she's become increasingly paranoid about her public image. She's reportedly stunned by the cold shoulder, baffled by the silence from people who once praised her. But in every direction she turns, she finds doors not just closed but locked. And while the palace remains silent, the media shift is undeniable. Meghan's empire isn't just under pressure, it's cracking. But if you thought that was bad, wait until you see how the press, the very lifeline of Meghan's brand, turned on her next. The media once treated Meghan Markle like royalty. Literally, glowing profiles, endless praise, interviews that painted her as the brave, misunderstood outsider who dared to challenge centuries of royal tradition. She was the headline, the moment, the narrative. Now, that media machine has turned into a wrecking ball. British outlets that once gushed over Meghan's every outfit and quote have flipped the script. The Daily Mail, The Sun, even Vogue, they've shifted from worship to warning. Articles no longer praise, they expose. Stories that once called her trailblazing now label her toxic. The tone is colder, sharper, more honest, and Meghan can't control it anymore. Why the sudden turnaround? Because media loyalty has an expiration date, and Meghan's is long past due. The public, once captivated by her fairy tale, is now exhausted. From Oprah to Netflix to the memoir circuit, it's been drama on repeat. Audiences have heard the story, reheard it, then heard it again. And now, they're asking what else is left to say. That fatigue has bled into coverage. Journalists who once feared backlash for criticizing Meghan are now writing what everyone's been whispering for years. Behind the empowering speeches and sleek photoshoots lies a pattern, emotional manipulation, strategic victimhood, and behind-the-scenes chaos. And it's not just the UK. Even in the US, where Meghan once found her safest audience, the narrative is slipping. High-profile talk shows have gone quiet. Editorials are no longer sanitized. Even her most loyal media allies are stepping back. The fascination has curdled into skepticism. But here's the kicker. Meghan built her entire post-royal brand on media power. Controlling the story was her strength. Shaping public perception was her currency. Now that currency is devalued. Her statements don't dominate headlines like they used to. Her initiatives don't trend the way they once did. And behind every cold article, every ignored press release, and every ghosted interview request is the same unspoken message: we're done. The press, like the palace, has moved on. And in Meghan's world, that kind of silence isn't just brutal, it's lethal. But while Meghan's spotlight fades, Harry remains tangled in the wreckage, desperately trying to stay loyal, but quietly running out of places to hide. Prince Harry is caught in the middle of a war he can't win. On one side, his birthright, his family, his legacy, the monarchy he was raised to protect. On the other, his wife, his children, and the new life he's built halfway across the world. And every step he takes seems to push him further from one and closer to losing both. The palace has drawn their line. Meghan is out, period. But Harry, he's still hanging by a thread. Senior royals haven't completely shut the door on him. Not yet. There's still a faint sliver of hope that he might come back, that he might somehow reclaim the values he once embodied. But there's a condition, a big one. Stop airing dirty laundry in public. No more truth bombs on Netflix. No more cryptic memoirs dripping with resentment. No more interviews that peel back royal protocol and expose decades of family drama. The monarchy isn't asking for an apology. They're demanding silence. But that silence comes at a cost Harry might not be willing or even able to pay. Because everything he's done since stepping down has revolved around one thing: defending Meghan. Every media deal, every documentary, every book has been built on their shared narrative. Their version of the truth. Their us versus them story. To walk away from that now would feel like betrayal. Of her, of their brand, of himself. But to stay on this path, that means permanent estrangement. No reconciliation. No royal future. No bridge to rebuild. Insiders say the tension is eating at him. He's reportedly torn, isolated, unsure of who to trust. Some say he still believes he can play peacemaker, that one day the wounds will heal, the family will understand. Others say he's in too deep, that he's chosen his side, and there's no turning back. And behind the palace gates, the royals are watching not with anger, not even disappointment anymore, just detachment. They see a prince who traded duty for spotlight, stability for drama, and who's now trapped by his own choices. Harry's loyalty is costing him everything. And if he doesn't make a move soon, he may find himself exactly where Meghan is now, cut off, not by force, but by silence. And the harshest truth, the crown won't wait for him. The British monarchy isn't built on forgiveness. It's built on survival. For centuries, the royal family has endured scandals, betrayals, and full-blown crises that would have crushed any other institution. And every time, they've made one thing clear: no person is bigger than the crown. Not a rebellious prince, not a rogue duchess, not even a once-beloved couple with the world's attention. That's the reality Meghan Markle never fully grasped. To her, this was a story about people, emotions, relationships. She saw the crown as a family, but to the people running the palace, the monarchy isn't personal. It's political. It's national. It's generational. And when someone becomes a threat to that stability, they're removed permanently. That's what's happening now. Prince William's actions aren't fueled by rage. They're fueled by duty. Every decision is calculated, measured, ruthless when it has to be. He's not playing to the media. He's playing to history. And in his eyes, Meghan doesn't just represent bad press. She represents chaos, disruption, a fracture that the monarchy simply cannot afford. So he made the call. No more tolerance, no more bending, no more room for distractions. From now on, Meghan doesn't exist in the royal world. Not as a name, not as a memory, not even as a warning. She's been deleted from the conversation, erased from the institution. Even King Charles, often seen as the more sentimental figure, has reportedly agreed with his health in question and his legacy on the line. He's leaning into the one strategy that always works: protect the institution at all costs. And that's the part that cuts the deepest. Because while Meghan may have seen herself as a disruptor, someone who could modernize the monarchy, humanize it, the truth is, the monarchy was never meant to be human. It was meant to endure. And enduring means making the kind of decisions that feel ice cold on the surface, but make perfect sense behind the curtain. So while Meghan and Harry grapple with emotion, the crown moves forward with precision. No headlines, no statements, just action. Quiet, final, and completely unstoppable. And the more noise Meghan makes, the louder the silence becomes. Once upon a time, Meghan Markle stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, the world at her feet, her name echoing through every media outlet on the planet. A modern woman in an ancient institution, a symbol of progress, resilience, and change. Now, she's a ghost in the royal story, a name that isn't spoken, a presence deliberately erased. What began as a fairy tale has unraveled into something colder, lonelier, and infinitely more permanent. Meghan hasn't just lost favor. She's lost access, influence, and identity within the institution that once made her a global icon. And that silence, the brutal, strategic silence, hurts more than any headline ever could. But perhaps the most haunting part of this entire saga isn't Meghan's exile. It's how familiar the ending feels. She once cut off her own father, distanced herself from anyone who didn't fit the narrative, and silenced connections that became inconvenient. Now the royal family has done the exact same thing to her. No confrontation, no closure, just distance, just silence. Even outside the palace, her support system is crumbling. Former allies like Edward Enninful have gone silent. Hollywood no longer rallies around her name. The media that once cheered her on has grown tired. And behind all the rumors, all the reports, all the shifting headlines, one truth has become undeniable. Meghan Markle's fall from grace wasn't explosive. It was surgical. As for Prince Harry, he remains on a ledge, teetering between loyalty and legacy, torn between the woman he loves and the family that raised him. And the longer he hesitates, the further that ledge begins to crack. But the monarchy, it doesn't wait, it doesn't chase, it simply moves forward. Because that's the crown's true power. It doesn't scream, it doesn't shout, it doesn't need to destroy its enemies with scandal or spectacle. It buries them under silence. Dignified, deliberate, deadly silence. So while Meghan may continue her fight in interviews, in books, and on streaming platforms, the message from the palace is clear. The door is closed. The crown is untouched, and Meghan Markle is gone.